Welcome back to another episode of Bike Talk with BikeLane. This is Bike Checks with Ed. I'm Ed, and this is the 2021 Giant Fathom 1. So this guy is a single track hardtail mountain bike. The geometry of the bike makes it look like a dirt jumper, but it is a single track trail bike. You can do dirt jumping with it if you like though. So this guy is Giant's most high-end single track hardtail. So on the side, I do want to point out that it says it's a 27.5 wheel, but this is a 29-inch wheel bike. This is a full aluminum frame. It's Alex aluminum, which is 6000 series aluminum. So the aluminum is very stiff, but thick. Or 7000 series aluminum, it'll be stiff but light. So jumping up here to the cockpit, Giant gives you the Giant Contact handlebar. This is a 31-inch wide handlebar. It's a very wide bar. The wider the handlebar, the more bike control you're going to have and the better performance you're going to have taking those big, super fast turns downhill. Super exciting. And then it's a 35/0 clamp. So it's an aluminum bar. The 35/0 clamp just gives you a stiffer handlebar. So the handlebar is much thicker than your traditional 31/8. And that also goes for the stem. It's 35.0 stem. It's a 40 mil reach. So the shorter the stem, the more agile the bike's gonna be. So Giant gives you a very short stem. So this bike's gonna be very twitchy, so it's gonna handle a lot better. With a wider bar and a shorter stem, this bike's gonna be able to go around every corner really quick. And then Giant gives you on here an air fork. So jumping down here, Giant gives you the Crest RL fork. This is a 29-inch fork. It's 130 millimeters of travel. You have the dampener and the compression. It's a through axle fork, which is a huge plus. And the stanchions are black. I really like it because the stanchions are black. Kind of blends in. On this fork, we have the Giant AM wheels with the Giant Tracker hubs. These hubs are boost spacing, so it's a wider spacing. Everything about this bike is meant to be wide, so it can just be stiffer and more planted on the trails. The AM rims are also 30 millimeters wide, so it's a very wide rim. So the wider the rim, the wider the tire is going to be. It's going to be spread out more, so you can put a plumpier tire on here. You also have plenty of clearance if you did want to get a fatter tire. These are 29 by 2.5. These are the Maxxis Ardent tires. These are great tires for trail riding. They're 50 PSI. You normally run like 30 to 35, depending on what type of trails you're riding. So you don't need super high pressure. This is not a street bike whatsoever. It's strictly a mountain bike. To stop these big wheels, Giant gives you, in the rear, we have a dual piston brake, a single piston brake. In the front, we have a dual piston brake. So we have a 4-piston brake up front. So you have more stopping power up front. And these are resin brake pads with an aluminum 180 millimeter rotor. So Giant gives you 180 mil rotors front and back, but the front brake is the Shimano MT420, which is a 4-piston, and the back is the 400, which is a 2-piston. Up top with the levers, Giant gives you a 2-finger lever. So it is a wide lever for my preference. They're a little too long, so it's just a matter of preference. You can either ride single finger or 2-finger when you're riding out on the trails. You can always space them out so you can make them a single finger because you do have a very large handlebar. You also get a SRAM SX shifter up top. It's a thumb shifter, so you have 2 simple paddles, no window, everything keeps it nice and clean. You also get the Giant Contact cable actuator for the dropper post. And then we're jumping to the back here. So in the back you have the same AM rim, same tracker hub, boost spacing, 180 mil rotor. Same Ardent tire, the Aggressor tire, 29 2.50 in the rear. Jumping to the drivetrain, Giant gives you the NX 12-speed Eagle derailleur. Everything else on the bike is SX. So the cranks are SX, the cassette is SX, the shifter is SX, the rear derailleur is NX. Nothing really different as far as performance goes. Everything is going to feel the same. You have an 11 to 44. Sorry, I have to remind myself about that. The set is 11 to 50. Excuse me. So the 11 is going to be your hardest cog if you really want to get some speed, which most of the time if you're on a single track, you're almost never going to hit the 11 unless you're really hustling out there on a straightaway. The 50 is going to be the largest ring for climbing. That's going to be your granny. I find myself using my 50 a lot. In the front, you get a 32 single chain ring. So the 30 is kind of the sweet spot if you're going to be running on 1150 because that's a really big spread. So over here, you can jump up to a 34 if you really want to get more speed if you find yourself that you're topping out on your 1130, or you can drop it down a size. You get a SRAM dub bottom bracket. So this crankset is a very wide crankset. It's also boost, and it has a very fat spindle. So it's very light and very stiff. The crank arms are 165. So with a 165 length crank arm, you get a really quick rotation around. So everything about this bike is just meant for going over obstacles and for climbing. So it's built just to be super fast and super agile. Giant gives you a dropper post on here. Dropper posts are great. Welcome to the 21st century. So these guys, with a press of a button, you can adjust the saddle height. So the seat post is cable actuated, but it gives it a really simple look. Giant doesn't give you a big doofy lever, they give you a really clean looking thumb lever. So you want your seat height set when your dropper is at its maximum. So once you set that, you can set the post in the frame itself to whatever position you may need. So that way when on your descents, if you're going over any obstacles, you can get your post out of the way. And when you're climbing and you need to pedal, you can push it back up to your proper riding position. Overall, this bike is a very stiff, fast bike. It's meant for climbing, going over obstacles, and it can handle abuse. Through axles front and back, 180mm rotors, 29-inch wheels, very wide handlebars. If you guys want to check it out, you can always stop by the store. We're here every day. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, you can give us a call.